Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Episode 104 of the Last Round Podcast. Once again, this is actually our second attempt. We had some audio technical difficulties in our initial recording, but we found a way to circumvent them, and hopefully this works now, and there's no static and stuff like that here. So we appreciate you guys listening once again, whether you're on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Boxing Socials, YouTube, wherever you're at, however you're listening, we appreciate it. Jumping right into it, and our guest of the week, our very special guest, the head of the MTK Global Foundation, television commentator, boxing analyst. People know him as The Knowledge. Kugan Cassius, he just mentioned to us. Kugan Cassius of IFL TV gave him that name, and I guess it's stuck. Spencer Fearon joins us this week on the Last Round. Thank you a lot for joining us, Spencer.
You know, Dan and Mike, thank you for reaching out. Like I said, you guys are always harassing me to share your content like week in, week out, and yet you have never shared one show of the Fight is Right boxing podcast with myself and Babatunde Ajayi. But it's all right because our numbers are pretty good, so I'm actually doing you a favor by speaking to you, my friend.
I'm sure that's true.
Well, I'll definitely make sure Mike starts sharing your stuff. Mike doesn't tell me these behind the scenes details about that. So now that I know, I'll make sure I'm on Mike for that, and we'll.
Sorry, Dan. What's your surname?
My last name?
Yeah,
Zaldivar with the Z. Zaldivar.
Zaldivar. What? You're Polish extraction?
I'm Mexican and Spaniard.
Mexican and Spanish.
Yeah.
Zaldivar.
Zaldivar.
Oh, Zaldivar. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a unique last name. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very eclectic.
It is. Yeah, it really is. It really is a good word for it. But, kind of jumping right into it, as I mentioned, kind of one of the biggest news of the year in the sport of boxing, and obviously probably the biggest news of the week this week in the sport, is that Canelo Alvarez has severed ties with DAZN and Golden Boy Promotions, who have promoted him since he turned essentially pro. Since he was a teenager, he signed with Golden Boy. Just recently, within the last couple of days, he is now a promotional and I guess broadcast television free agent in that sense. One more time, like we asked you in our previous recording, Spencer, when you first initially heard about this, what was your reaction, and where do you think Canelo goes going forward?
My first reaction wasn't a reaction of surprise because as him and Golden Boy, they've been going back and forth publicly over on social media and stuff like that. So it wasn't no major surprise to me that something like this was going to happen. I think DAZN, they're going to be in trouble now because they haven't been able to deliver the fights that they were meant to deliver, or they were proposing that they were going to deliver. And them having Canelo was a big thing. But I think anybody having Canelo is a big thing. What's Canelo's net worth now? About what, 120 mil or something like that? It's ridiculous, his net worth, right?
Probably, yeah.
So, right. 1 in 3 Mexicans watch him when he fights. The guy's big business. Mm. So if we're dealing with someone who's big business like him, what can you say, man? I think it's catastrophic for Golden Boy because Golden Boy haven't got an elite star. And if you look at the pound for pound ratings, who's Golden Boy got inside the pound for pound ratings? Well, Canelo, they haven't got no one. So, and Canelo brings much more than just the boxing fans, right? He's an iconic figure. So yeah, it's mad. And my heart, you know what? What happens is this, it's like we believe in an old adage that there's tricks in trade and mechanics in business. And I think he's understanding the machinery that goes towards the business right now himself. And he's thinking, do I really need a promoter? Or do I need a promoter who has all the social issues that Oscar De La Hoya has? Maybe not. And you have to remember that everything is a relationship. How may start sweet, but when you become the big dog now, you're going to get everybody whispering in your ear. You're going to get, you know what I mean? Like I said, there's an old saying from the famous British fight promoter and fight figure, Mickey Duff, who would say, if you want loyalty, buy yourself a dog. But then there's also another thing that we know, that loyalty is actually royalty. But, you know what I mean? Respect and loyalty, these things they are not bestowed. You have to earn them. So maybe he's fell out of bed with Oscar De La Hoya. Maybe Oscar De La Hoya has forgotten the learning capacity of earning respect and relationships. I don't know. But what I am saying is this: if he is going to go somewhere, he should go to MTK Global. But he's so big now, he doesn't need to go to a fight outfit for anyone to discuss any business for him, because he could go and do that himself. He could go to any major broadcasting network in America and they'll take him, because they'd be ludicrous not to take him. So it's one of those kind of things. And I think the biggest thing, or the best bet, would most probably him ending up being with Al Heyman. Mm-hmm. Because nobody would have dreamed of Manny Pacquiao ever leaving Bob Arum and ending up with Al Heyman. You would have thought, what are you talking about? And we have seen a resurgence in Manny Pacquiao in his fighting style and ability, especially his 2 wins over Adrian Broner and Keith Thurman. You'd have to say that, you know what, he's not done a bad thing, because he's earning and he's still back out in the spotlight. Right.
You mentioned obviously you would, if he would go anywhere, he should go to MTK Global. Obviously everybody knows you're involved. You're the head of the MTK Global Foundation.
No, that's not the reason.
No, I know. I'm not saying it's the reason,
Mike, Mr. Shepherd, tell your Hispanic friend that's not the reason.
Well, I'm going to give you a scenario here.
Because you and I have synergy here, right? We're both British. Okay? Right? You got to watch these sneaky guys.
Exactly.
I am the sneaky one on the podcast. I'll give you that. That. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you had the job to make the sales pitch in front of Canelo. Let's just play fantasy here. You go and you travel to him or something, and you're in front of him. What would be your sales pitch on behalf of MTK Global to get Canelo to go with you?
There wouldn't be any sales pitch on my behalf, because I run the foundation with the charity arm. So I wouldn't be at liberty to try and sell any sales pitch to a multi-global superstar as in Canelo. But what I could do, I could speak of empathy, my friend. And one thing I have to say about MTK Global is that it is a family. And I'm telling you this now. It's like, why are you... MTK Global is a family. They look after people as family. They've put me in a position that I can help other people. So imagine you're blessed enough to go out and earn and create funds or create wealth, and then you can distribute that wealth out to other people who are less fortunate than you. That's the greatest job in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So I get to do that every day. Even as I speak to you right now, I've got my laptop here right now. I've got people who are bombarding me, and I'm multitasking. I'm learning this multitasking thing now. That's why I got my glasses on. And I'm still answering people right now who need help and support. So off the back of that, no. But what I would say to Canelo is that the respect that is shown at MTK Global. I've worked in boxing for a very, very long time. I've been inside boxing for now 41 years. A long time, right?
Right.
So, I know I don't look it. All right, cool. Right. But what I'm trying to say, I actually don't. But what I'm trying to say is that because of that, I've seen the snakes and the perpetrators and the ill energy. And I'm just keeping it 100%. When I keep on saying that, I'm just being real. Boxing within itself transcends lots of things. Race, religion, color, sexual preference, all the rest of it. It does this. Boxing has done this. But never have I seen it encapsulated in a company. And I see that encapsulated inside of a company where the people at the top are trying to inspire and they want people to aspire to top positions. And it's not only just top position on a financial basis, but it's also of an emotional and spiritual level as well. So it's pretty deep. That's why I've got a lot of love for the company.
Where do you think Golden Boy Promotions goes from here without their cash cow?
Do you know what? I don't know where they're going to go. Oscar De La Hoya is going to continue fighting the good fight because he's enjoyed a long reign at the top when Golden Boy were the ones. And I think Mayweather came along and smashed that alongside with Al Heyman. So I don't rightly know. But they have got a couple guys that could be future stars, that could really be like, Ryan Garcia could be something very, very big. Because he's a crossover between the purists of boxing and also the social media trend. And he's blown the social media trend on another level. So maybe they could put and try and build him in the right way to get the right fights. He's got a very, very tough fight coming up with Luke Campbell. That's not an easy proposition for him at all. But when I'm looking at it, I'm saying maybe they must know something that we don't know. Because I'm looking at that, I'm saying, boy, that's a hard fight for him, right? Because he ain't fought no way Luke Campbell's class. And Luke Campbell is an Olympic gold medalist in the 2012 Olympics when he beat John Joe Nevins in the bantamweight final. So this is not, he ain't no joke. And the Linares fight and the Lomachenko fight, he gave both guys a run. So this is how we're going to properly get to gauge Ryan Garcia. But if he comes through, then he could be the next big thing for Golden Boy. But if he doesn't, then Golden Boy are really in the jam.
Right. You don't think let's just say Ryan Garcia does, beat Luke Campbell. It's a tough test, but let's just say he does, and he turns out to really show the skills that he says he has in the ring. You don't see it as inevitable that, especially with the prior relationship he's had within the last year or so with Golden Boy himself, and is now that he trains with Canelo's team and his trainer, you don't think that eventually Ryan is going to probably leave on his own too, or at least go with Canelo or follow Canelo?
Yeah, of course he is. Do you mean he's just going to be like fighters? You got to remember, Ryan Garcia must idolize Canelo in the same way how Canelo idolized Oscar De La Hoya. Right?
Right.
I don't know Oscar De La Hoya and I don't know Canelo. You know what I mean? I've been in the same room with him, said hello to him, took pictures with him, but I don't know them personally. I can't sit down and say they come around my house for tea or stuff like that. So it's about relationships. But what I am saying is this: Canelo is training with Ryan Garcia, and Ryan Garcia is training with his trainer. Whispers, loose lips sink ships, but these guys are going to be sat down together and they say, yeah, man, fuck Oscar De La Hoya. And they say, yeah, man, fuck Oscar De La Hoya too. And you know what? This is what you have to go and do. You want to be like me? SA? Come on. You got to do, you know what I mean? Right. So that's what I believe is going to happen.
So the rumored opponent, at least what people have been talking about, is Caleb Plant for Canelo's next fight, which Canelo just recently said, I believe, on Box Azteca TV, that he should be announcing his opponent on a date sometime next week. What do you think of Caleb Plant as the next fight for Canelo Alvarez?
He's a good fighter. He's an unbeaten fighter. He will fancy the job. He was the IBF super middleweight champion. He's got some good wins under his belt. Caleb can fight. Let's not say that he can't fight. He can fight. And we shall see. He won't beat Canelo. I'm just being real. Right? He won't. It's going to take a man very, very good to beat Canelo, because you're not only just fighting Canelo, but you're fighting the judges as well. Right. And by saying that, that's not me taking nothing away from Canelo, because the guy can fight. He's most probably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I would say that he's the most versatile fighter in the world. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's not an easy task for anybody. But, then there would be, the fights that would be there, because if he fights Caleb Plant, they're going to say, I believe he's done an Ishaka deal with Al Heyman. I believe if anybody's going to get him to work with right now, it would be Al Heyman. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And no doubt, they'd be looking at the model that was provided for Floyd Mayweather, thinking like, well, you know what? We could repeat this model again with me. And remember, one in three Mexicans watch me when I'm fighting. Now, Mexico has a population of something like just under 130 million people.
Right.
So you divide that by 3. That's a lot of people tuning into one particular man fight.
Right. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah. Well, it's definitely going to be interesting to see who his opponent and what platform he fights on. He says he's going to announce it in the next week or so. So I'm sure everybody's going to be following that news very closely. Kind of moving on to reviews of these past weekend's fights. The 7th of November, this past Saturday, from the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida, on DAZN, Devin Haney remains undefeated with a 12-round unanimous decision win against Yuriorkis Gamboa and retains his WBC lightweight world title at 135 pounds. It was a pretty standard unanimous decision win. There wasn't too much action in this 12 rounds, at least what Mike and I were opinionating on. What did you think about Haney's performance and the overall win?
Sorry, before we even start, what was you guys' call for the fight? What was your call, Mike? And what was your call, Danny? How did you call the fight prior to it happening? What was your predictions?
I thought Haney would have stopped him. I thought Haney was just too skillful, and then it looked like Gamboa had become a little bit chinny. I think the DAZN commentators kept going back to that during the fight over here, that how many times he'd been knocked down. And, I thought Haney looked the full package. I don't know whether he just didn't have the pop. Maybe Gamboa just came in a little bit heavier because he looked like getting a little bit of a belly, so maybe that helps him with his chin on the night. I thought it was a good performance. It just wasn't an exciting performance.
I thought it was a decent performance. And it wasn't... Sorry, I didn't get your take. What was your take, Danny?
Yeah, Mike and I had talked about this before, and I was on a similar boat. I knew it was going to be a decision win. I mean, Haney's not really like a knockout kind of guy. But the thing I had told Mike before when we were talking about it is that Gamboa is like, he's obviously past his prime, but like, he gave Tank Davis a pretty difficult fight. Tank Davis obviously beat him, but he took him all 12 rounds. And with somebody like Davis, that was difficult. And like the only person who's pretty much ever, at least in my opinion, really had their way with Gamboa, and even then, like Gamboa still got some shots in, was Crawford. And Crawford overall is a bigger guy, but I just thought
hurt Crawford in their fight. He hurt Crawford in their fight.
Yeah, he did, and that was surprising to a lot of people. So I kind of knew going into this fight that Gamboa, just based on the pedigree he has and the experience he's been in with other fighters, that he would still it's hard to knock the guy out for some reason. He has, like Mike said, he had a little bit of a belly, so maybe that helped him. But the decision win didn't surprise me at all. What would have surprised me is if Haney stopped him, but he didn't. He went 12 rounds. What did you think, Spencer?
Because of Lomachenko getting upset by Teofimo Lopez 2 weeks ago, because of the hellacious 6-round knockout that was administered by Tank Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz, it was very difficult for anything that Devin Haney does, if it's not going to be a spectacular 1-round knockout win, for people to say, bloody hell, this kid's real. Anything past 6 rounds, you're going to be in trouble. And that's the truth. Because we say like you're only as good as your last performance, but you're only as good as your rival's last performance, because that's what we're measuring it by. We're measuring it by, you know what? A few months ago, Gamboa got stopped, and he was down 3 times. What was it? Was he down in the? I can't remember the rounds that he went down in. I remember he went down in the 8th as well. So we're looking at that. It went down in the 2nd round as well. So we're looking at that and we're saying, well, you didn't even come close to even knocking him over. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we've got to take into consideration the kid's only 21 years old. And he's being thrusted into this limelight and everything else because, what do you get? You got $1 million just to sign with DAZN, the Matchroom, apparently. Mm-hmm. So there lies a lot of pressure. And the kid is very good. He's talented. But there shouldn't be no rush with him. And the reason why there shouldn't be no rush, because once you reach where you're meant to reach, then there's a point of no return. Then you're gonna have to fight someone like a Gervonta Davis. You're gonna have to go and fight somebody. You're gonna have to go and fight someone like a Teofimo Lopez. You're gonna have to be looking at fighting Lomachenko, even though I've been calling out Lomachenko for a long time. But these are the guys that you're gonna have to go and fight. So I would say maybe next up, I wouldn't mind seeing him against, but he'll give him a run as well. But I wouldn't mind seeing him against Richie Comey, who is a former IBF champ.
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing him against him to see how he gets on in that fight, because I think that'd be a step in the right direction for him to continue his progression and his learning.
Do you think it was a bad decision to handpick Gamboa?
I would have picked Gamboa, because Gamboa got stopped in his last fight, and there's always going to be that comparison. I wouldn't have thought that would have been a proper fight for him. But maybe they thought, yeah, we're going to take him because he's old and he's shot now. But, you know, Gamboa, to his credit, he put in a reasonable performance considering what he was meant to be up against.
Already, straight after the fight, because of the performance wasn't as good as people expected, people are saying Haney needs to look for a new trainer and move away from his father. What do you think?
Well, his father doesn't really train him. Mickey Bay, the former IBF lightweight champion, trains him. He was working with Mike McCullum, and it's funny enough, I was actually speaking to Mike McCullum about 2 hours ago. So he was working with Mike McCullum. So I said, Mike, did you see the fight? He said he didn't see the fight. He said, what, he was fighting? I said, yeah, he was fighting. Mike didn't see the fight. Bill Haney is a person that is going to do what's right, that he believes that is right for his son. I don't think nobody can question his loyalty towards his son, because it's his son. And they've got, you know what I mean, I know Mickey Bay quite well. Well, I know quite well. I know him very well, in fact. So maybe that's the road that they're going. When they say, well, he should change trainer, well, he's got to where he's got to, and he's become the WBC champion, even though we have a franchise champion now as well. And to me, the true undisputed champion is actually Teofimo Lopez. But because of that, I'm saying, you know, I would like to. I ain't gonna turn around and say, well, you should get rid of your father as a trainer, because his dad isn't the initial key trainer. It's actually Mickey Bay, and as it was announced by the MC, with his father trainer, was it Bill Haney and trainer Mickey Bay. But maybe Mickey, you know, I understand like Bill was there and it's being centralized, but we have to look and say, then what experience has Bill Haney had in this genre? He hasn't. But that's not me knocking Bill Haney, because he's done something, because his son's the WBC champion of the world. But we see these father and son relationships in boxing, more than most times, it doesn't really work out too well.
And so what do you think? They kind of all hit the scene at the same time. Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. They've all had a good handful of fights now. Who do you think comes out on top? Who was the best career, I mean?
Well, the best career, for me personally, I think the guy with the best career most probably could be Shakur Stevenson. I really do like him. I know Jay Prince pretty well as well, his manager. I think he's the one that's going to come. I mean, talent-wise, I think that kid's superb. Yeah. For a young kid, he thinks way ahead of his age, for me personally. But, you know, in saying that, I really do like Teofimo Lopez, but I know that he's going to move up in weight, because I know it's a bit of a struggle for him getting down to lightweight. So I know that he's going to move up in weight. I really do rate him. But I'm saying Shakur's down right now. He should be challenging for the super featherweight title. So I like Shakur a lot. I think he gets it. He's very disciplined. He's very, very disciplined. And I think on certain things where we're saying like discipline could be a major factor in letting down someone like a Gervonta Davis, because everyone talks about how ill-disciplined he is. And I just pray that I hope that Gervonta Davis doesn't try and follow to be Adrian Broner and like really buckles down. And the nice thing is, like, because it was his first fight on pay-per-view, that he properly buckled down because he had to get down to 130. That's not an easy task for anybody. So, yeah. But for me, Shakur Stevens, I think possibly could have the best career of all of these guys.
Do you think Teofimo Lopez, you mentioned, obviously, he said, and also his father has said they've had struggles making 135 and they wouldn't stay at that weight that much longer. Do you realistically see one title defense at 135 and then a move up? Or is it possible that he just moves up without even one title defense?
Well, I think maybe he's going to have one title defense, then move up. But what I am saying is this, for me to be real, is that Josh Taylor's real. Mm-hmm. He ain't no joke. Josh Taylor is real. You can't muck around with that kid. That Scottish boy is the real deal. I just want you to know that, and I've said it. That Scottish boy is the real deal. And forget that he's with MTK Global. I'm telling you now. Right? No, forget that. Throw that one out the window. Right? Now he's the real deal. I knew he was a real deal from when he was with Barry McGuigan, when he was with Cyclone Promotions. He was a real deal from then. Because there were certain things that he was doing in the gym that I just said, like, you bring it, come fight night, you're going to be serious. And he could actually bring it to fight night. I remember when he made O'Hara Davis quit, right? O'Hara Davis prides himself on being a street kid and a tough kid, and he made him quit. So you have to know what kind of demoralizing skill and punching power that this guy possesses. He's the real deal.
So you think that, I mean, just based on that, would you say that it's, if Lopez moves up to 140, that it'd be Josh Taylor number one, Jose Ramirez, or Teofimo Lopez number two? Like in terms of like the eye test of what you think?
No, I would say Ramirez because he's established himself at that weight. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say. Yeah. And there's this other kid who's the WBA regular champion who boxed on Al Heyman's cards. I've forgotten the kid's name. He boxed last week.
At 140?
At 140, yeah.
Oh, man.
Exactly. Power from fragmented, you don't even care no more. But yeah, there's another kid. But you don't need to worry about him because I think Teofimo Lopez will brush him.
Right. Yeah. Now we can't. It's hard to keep track of these belts sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it's a very spurious ordeal, my friend.
Right. But where do you think Haney goes from here in terms of his next opponent? Like, who would you realistically like to see him fight in his next title defense? If it's not Lopez.
If it's not Lopez, which it wouldn't be, he not ready for that now. Not ready for that step up. Because he's not fought nobody remotely close. And you have to understand, like, Lopez just pulled off a massive win. I've seen this very, very similar. We had a fighter from Great Britain called Lloyd Hannigan. He came to Atlantic City, and it was September 1986, and he beats Donald Curry. And Lloyd Hannigan was a very, very good fighter. Mike Shepard knows. Mm-hmm. Lloyd Hannigan was a very good fighter. But as soon as he was at the time, he was British, Commonwealth, and European champion. So he's won all the marbles on the European continent. Then he goes and fights Donald Curry, and everyone didn't give him a chance against Donald Curry. And him being Lloyd Hannigan didn't give a toss about who Donald Curry was. Donald Curry went to go and shake his hand at the press conference prior to the fight, and Lloyd Hannigan pushed him away and said, I'll see you Saturday, mate. It was one of those kind of things. So when you win titles, it does something to you. Now, especially like when you win titles, but you beating the pound for pound, allegedly pound for pound number one. If you listen to Teddy Atlas, I never ever agreed with that, but it's another thing, right? Like, he's the pound for pound number one, and then you just beating the pound for pound number one. Lloyd Hannigan beat the pound for pound number one. His first defense was against Johnny Bumpers. Johnny Bumpers was a former WBA world welterweight champion. And Lloyd Hannigan ramsacked him in 2 rounds. So I think when you do things like that, you beating someone, you take their soul, you take their energy. I believe that Teofimo Lopez has just done that, and he's gonna raise his stock. So if Teofimo Lopez goes out and fights anybody right now, it's gonna be trouble.
Yeah, 135 is definitely one of the most, if not arguably the most attractive divisions with that group of guys at the moment.
Mario Barrios was the name we were looking for. That's
right, Barrios. I wasn't really that impressed with him anyway, but yeah. Yeah, and that's no disrespect to him. He's a good fighter, but I wasn't that impressed with him at the time when I watched him.
Right. I that was news to me. Like that, you said that he had the WBA regular. It's hard to keep. It's hard to keep track of these titles.
It's crazy right now, but yeah, that's what he's got.
But moving on. Also, this past Saturday from the Microsoft Theater in downtown Los Angeles on Fox here in the United States, heavyweight matchup. Luis Ortiz gets the 32nd win of his career as he stops with the knockout Alexander Flores in the very first round. Seemed like a stay busy fight for Luis Ortiz to get back in the mix for PBC. What do you think? What do you think PBC's plans and Al Heyman's plans are for Luis Ortiz? Is it? I'm assuming it's probably to get him back into the mix in a world title, maybe a Deontay Wilder matchup, since they're both PBC. What do you think?
Well, it's going to have to be something, because here we have the heavyweight division wide open. Deontay Wilder's gone off on one, right? Because his water was spiked. How the hell do you spike water? And I'm sure that you get tested after you get blood and urine sample tested after, especially for a fight of that magnitude, and it didn't show up. Is the whole Nevada testing system against Deontay Wilder as well? All right. Anyway, I digress. I think.
Since you kind of touched on that, what do you realistically believe that he believes that, or do you think any of it has to do with some just to get attention and PR out of it? Like he's just. Do you think he's real about that?
Yeah, I think he's real. I think people have talked so much shit in his ear that the shit's sealed to his ear. And anyone who think of truth and reality can't get in because his ears are full of shit.
Right.
And it's sad and it's embarrassing, to tell you the honest truth. It really is embarrassing.
Do you think it's just sometimes, obviously, fighters need to justify to themselves the reason that they got beat was, something...
Well, yeah, I hear that, Mike, but if you're going to pick out reasons, you'd pick better reasons than that, man. Surely you'll pick better reasons than that. It's sad and it is repugnant, my friend. And I'd be remiss not to mention it, so I have done. But I was trying not to because, you got those guys in America, where they're the LDBC, they'll come for me. Oh, you know who those guys are? We
know those guys.
Al Heyman and the PBC kind of fanboys, I guess it seems.
Nah, you know what? I'm telling you this now. Like, there's certain guys who are inside the LDBC who are really, really. No, I'm being real. Who are really, really good guys. But there are other guys, like I said, socially, how things are in America compared to how they are in the UK is totally different. So maybe they just they walk around with a chip on their shoulder because a chip has been placed on their shoulder. But I'm doing my best to remove all chips, my friend, right? And I think that's the most important thing. But because you do have those group of people that it is really them against us, where difference in the UK. In the UK, well, I realized it was them against us, but it wasn't anything to do with skin tone or racial divide. It was rich versus poor. As you must know, you grew up in the UK. It was the fighters versus the promoters, and we got to earn as much as we can as fighters. That's how it is. But over in America, it seems like there is this divide because I think the LDBC were first formulated because they believed that the black fighters were not getting a fair shake, which I understand. I get it. But if you're not getting a fair shake, don't make it worse for yourself and come out and spew that kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? I was there looking to say, you guys were kind of winning a second there, man. I was like, yeah, I was down with you with the power struggle. You know what I mean? Black Lives Matter and all that rubbish, right? And then you come out with shit like that. Come on, man. And you shit on Mark Breland?
Yeah.
Nah, I rest my case, man. I don't really want to get into this too much. Seriously. But like I'm saying, there were certain members who go underneath this LDBC who are full of shit themselves. And I've said it, and it doesn't matter. You can't come to London and do anything to me because I've got Roadman waiting to just deal with you guys. But what I'm saying is that these guys you understand? I get why it was started, but unfortunately, they've surrounded themselves with idiots, and they're looking at Deontay Wilder as their champion. I don't look at no one as my champion. My champion is a person that I can stylistically affiliate with and idolize what they're doing in their style, right? Mm-hmm. Because I've seen some really, really whack fighters who've been the same skin tone as me, right?
Right.
I've seen some excellent fighters who've been the same skin tone as me. I've seen some excellent fighters who haven't been the same skin tone as me, but because they're so skilled, I just affiliate myself or I try to group myself with their skill levels.
Right. Okay. What a turn. I never thought we would talk about the LDBC in this interview.
No, you know what? Because this is what I'm trying to say. I understand what they're trying to do.
Right.
I get it. Right? But what was it? You know when they say like the man that has 1 point, the man that's pointing one finger's got 3 pointing back at his own self? Yeah. You ever heard that thing before? Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm coming from. And I'm saying that because I get attacked profusely over on social media. Like I'm meant to be this Malcolm X wannabe. I mean, so I get social structure and social demise, and I also know that a lot of things are mechanically put into place. But what I'm trying to say is like when people go low at this time, especially Deontay Wilder, when people go low, you're meant to go high, to quote Michelle Obama. So at this time here, I was saying like, it's really embarrassing. And I was speaking to Johnny Nelson yesterday. Was it yesterday or this morning he phoned me? And Johnny was saying to me, I bet you Deontay Wilder doesn't fight again. Mm-hmm. I said, I bet you could. He's a very, very wealthy man. I know, like, and Mike knows, like, you live out in America now. For something like 400 grand, you can buy a really, really nice, really nuts home, right? For 400 grand in the UK, you can't even buy a box room. That's the truth. And you know, this is totally different. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's that. But when you are surrounded by yes men, and oh yeah, brother, man, oh yeah, it's a bag of bollocks, man. Seriously, it's a bag of bollocks. And that's that. And I don't give a shit who wants to jump on and say, Spencer Fro's cooning, he's pandering to Mike and Danny, yeah, because he got these two whack. Go fuck yourself, mate. I'm just keeping it 100, man.
Keeping it 100. And then, kind of going back to what we kind of deviated from, Luis Ortiz. Where does Ortiz go from here? What do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. For the simple fact that he's still a danger man. He's still a danger man. Mm-hmm. But the fight last night against that guy, that ain't helping him. That ain't helping no one.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about a matchup with somebody like maybe like an Andy Ruiz, since they're both under Al Haymon?
That would be a very good fight. But I'm also hearing talk that Andy Ruiz, there's talks about Andy Ruiz versus Derek Chisora.
Oh, wow.
Right. I'm hearing from very good sources as well. So, yeah. But, yeah, him and Andy Ruiz will be a wicked fight. Especially now, because Andy Ruiz is training with Canelo's trainer right now. Mm-hmm. I think it was a bit hard on his former trainer, but it is what it is. And, a boxer only has one career. Mm-hmm. So you have to believe that you're doing the best for yourself. But I'm also a big believer in universal law. And what goes around comes around, whether it's good or bad. And the longer it takes to come to you, the more interest it's going to build. So whether it's good or bad, whatever interest that you've compounded, when it comes back to you, it's going to hit you like a heavy load. So try and do as much good as you can and command good and forbid evil. So we shall see what happens. But I wouldn't mind seeing Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz versus Derek Chisora. I'd like to see that fight.
Man, that'd be pretty wild. Definitely. Yeah. Especially after Chisora's performance against Usyk, just coming forward as a bull. That was crazy.
I'd like to know what his game plan was, to tell you the honest truth, because there was no game plan. No. And I think a lot of that had to do with who he had in the corner. That's no disrespect. I know Ruben Tarais very well. He's a nice guy. But I'm saying you're meant to be dealing with a world-class athlete here. Right? If you're doing stuff with his kind of legs, so we're saying 100%, because he was a world-class 400 meters runner. So I'll give you all of that. Yeah, you don't know, we got to be fit and to be stretching, but boxing is what is it? It's a very cerebral sport, and you have to study this game. You can't just think, jab, right hand, that's it. Or like instructions are paramount, and you have to build relationships with fighters. And if anybody knows, I don't know if you used to fight, Mike. You used to fight?
No, like just kind of like at the gym stuff, sparring and stuff like that, but not. And
well, I'm telling you, like, you go change your training. It takes about 5 fights before you get accustomed to it. And the guy that had in a corner, he seemed like a very, very nice guy. He's meant to be some MMA guy or whatever. MMA and boxing ain't MMA. And that's that. That's like me saying, I'm the greatest tennis player in the world. And you know what? My new coach is a table tennis coach. But he was number one in table tennis. No, it's two different disciplines. It is what it is, gentlemen.
Right, absolutely. Go ahead, Mike.
Do you think Don Charles was the only one that could really get that next level out of Derek?
I think more so that Don Charles' relationship with Derek is that Don Charles took him out of the amateurs when nobody thought Derek was going to do anything. Remember, Derek, he lost to David Price in the ABA finals after becoming London champion. And Don Charles refined him to the best of his abilities. And like I said earlier, that loyalty is royalty. But, you know, Don Charles is very, very, he has a protectory blanket that he puts over Derek for all of Derek's indiscretions and everything else. Don Charles was the person that I believe could get through to him the best. But Don Charles, unfortunately, because Don Charles is a very good trainer. I've known Don Charles for 32 years.
Wow.
So I've known him a very, very long time. And with Don Charles is the fact that whereas he's not a braggadocial trainer, he's not going to go, I'm the best and I'm blah, blah, blah. He's like, listen, man, I've been in the UK long enough. I'm a native Nigerian. You know what I mean? Let me not try to ruffle no feathers and let me just try and go through and do what I'm doing. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know how certain British people are like to people who are not actually born in the country, right? So he's had to do that, and I understand it. I understand Don Charles. So where he hasn't been that guy, but it's maybe become a cropper because we're in this new age right now, and hype sells, and because you got more Instagram followers than this next person, that you must be a good trainer. Oh, and in fact, you got the blue tick. Have you got the blue tick? Oh my God, you got right, exactly. So we run out to get validation from things that don't validate ourselves. And if I need validation from how many Instagram followers I got, then I ain't got no life. My validation actually comes from my relationship with my children and my missus and my mother, and that's where I get my validation from. So Don Charles is a very, very good trainer, and I think that Don Charles could have helped Derek, because I've never seen it. All the time when people were slagging off Don Charles, I remember they did some poll and they disrespectfully tried to say Don Charles is the worst trainer in Great Britain. And I've never in all of my life seen all the fights that Derek Chisora had. I've never seen Derek Chisora throw a left hook and do a 360.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell was these PT instructors and athletes doing and UFC trainers doing in Derek Chisora's corner? David Hayes should have been in his corner. And David said, oh, well, that's not really me. No, David. David is very, very well versed. We used to train together. David knows boxing. Do you know what I mean? He definitely knows boxing. And he's articulate enough to correspond it that someone like Derek Chisora could comprehend what he's saying for instructions. And I think if he had that, it would have been better. But he didn't have that. He had some UFC and a 400 meters runner in his corner. And that's not me disrespecting those guys, but I'm just speaking my mind.
You know, Chisora obviously just lost to Usyk, but Dylan White and Povetkin were scheduled to fight in their rematch, but Povetkin tested positive for the COVID-19 virus.
Did he really test positive for COVID-19?
Well, that's just what's reporting.
Do you really think that he tested positive for COVID-19?
It's a good question. I mean, I have my doubts, but
I was asking you a question. Let's keep it real. Do you think, Mike, that he failed the test? Or do you think he's saying, no, to hell with Tyler to fight Dillian Whyte again? I'm in the top position. I'm just going to long this out and get my shot at Tyson Fury.
I did wonder that because of the fact that he was losing and managed to obviously perfect punch, knock Dillian Whyte out. I did wonder at the time because obviously, does he have to prove it? I don't know. Obviously, you know the boxing business better than I do. Does he have to show some kind of medical record to show that it was true? But obviously,
he's in Russia. He's in Russia.
Right.
He goes,
you're right.
Listen, I've got COVID. Yeah, I've got COVID.
Right.
Yeah, man. They're giving out certificates for people who got COVID right now. You cough more than 4 times in a day, you got COVID.
Right.
Right. So everyone's being diagnosed with this COVID. Dave Cool, the trainer, he had COVID the other day. He said he felt as right as rain. He weren't showing any symptoms. So they say you're asymptomatic. Oh, you ain't got no symptoms, but you got COVID. So at this time here, there's a lot of back-to-back fights. I don't know, but I'm not doubting that he's got COVID. I'm just saying, I'm asking you guys, do you think he's got it? If he's got it, he's got it. I wish him. If he's got it, no, I'm being real. If he's got it, he's got it. I wish him all the best and that he stays safe. But I just believe that you can sit there. Man, I'm gonna wait to fight Tyson Fury. So Dillian Whyte.
I think you raise an interesting point. That's a very good point that he could, just because he knows he can probably get a shot at Tyson Fury if he kind of waits long enough. And he is in Russia. There is concerns there. So I think you raise a very good point. But, at this point, what are we supposed to believe? Like, the fight's obviously not going to happen. It is what it is.
It's not going to happen. And, Dylan is still training. And I can't see, I know they knocked back the Michael Hunter because Michael Hunter was saying, yeah, I'll fight you. But no disrespect to Michael Hunter, very, very good fighter. Doesn't bring anything to the table. Mm-hmm. Nothing to the table. Because it's risk reward. And Michael Hunter can fight. Mm-hmm. He's shown us this numerous times. He's got a very good chin. He beat Povetkin in December of last year. Never got the decision. So he's thinking, well, I need that fight for. You know what I mean? With Sky TV apparently turned that fight down. They didn't want that fight either. So, Derek Chisora, Dillian Whyte free. That shows that David Haye don't really care about the well-being and safety of Derek Chisora to say, yeah, let's jump in and fight him, because I don't think they've got a real plan there for Derek Chisora. Their plan was, we're going to beat Usyk, then we're going to see how we can get on. And he came a cropper against Usyk because he did lose that fight. And I think it was wrong of certain fight figures to say that they actually believed that they thought that Derek won that fight, because he didn't win that fight. No, he didn't win that fight. Just because someone's your friend doesn't mean that because you're telling them something other contrary to what they want to believe that you're against them. You're just telling them what you see it. Mm-hmm. But what I realize is that in the world that we live in today, that we get rewarded for being liars. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you start talking the truth, because we believe that this world was created in truth, and was it Bandini Brown used to say, like, the truth tastes bitter to a belly full of lies. So I'll rather try and walk with truth, my friend.
Right. Yeah. Bandini Brown, isn't that one of the books that we were given, Mike?
Yeah,
I got that book as well. I got that book as well.
I interviewed the author on the podcast, Todd Schneider.
Yep. Believe the Hype was a front of the book.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. They sent us some copies of that book.
Did you review it for the show? Did you review the book? Yeah,
I reviewed it, and then I brought Todd on, and me and Todd spoke about it.
Okay. I'm gonna have to dig up on the archives to go get that interview. I'd like to listen to it, because I thought he did great justice to Bandini Brown, who was a great fight figure, but to the spiritual elements of how we used to raise Ali, yeah, he was a good guy.
Moving on to this upcoming weekend, fight previews, Saturday, the 14th of November from the Bubble at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas on ESPN here in the States. Terrence Crawford, 36-0, goes up against Kell Brook, 39-2 for Crawford's WBO welterweight world title. What do you think about this matchup? And obviously, Brook is getting a lot of flack. They're both getting a lot of flack, but there's not a lot of people giving Brook a chance. Do you think Brook has a chance here, Spencer?
Of course he has a chance because he's got 2 hands and a heartbeat. This is the best condition that we've ever seen Kell Brook in. You've never seen him in this kind of condition before, right? He's actually lived it. But what I do think is this. I remember when Bud Crawford came to the UK to fight Ricky Burns for his WBO lightweight title. And I remember I had to do the fight breakdown. I had to do a tactical breakdown for the fight for Sky Sports then. And I remember they gave me a lot of videos. Like, I didn't know nothing about Bud Crawford. I heard his name. I heard Timothy Bradley big him up a lot. So I didn't know nothing about him. I watched videotapes of myself, Babatunde Ajayi, the trainer of Anti Yard, came around my house. Let's watch this guy. I'll do a breakdown for him. I watched the guy. I said, shit, this guy good, man. Mm-hmm. This guy is very, very good. And if you speak to Shakur Stevens, he will tell you how good Terrence Crawford is. He said, like, nobody's ever slapped me around in sparring. But he said, Terrence Crawford slapped me around in sparring. So, I rate him for being honest as well. I think Terrence Crawford is he's a super talent. But I do think that there's no rehydration clause going into this fight, which is going to favor Kell Brook. So I think it's going to be a good fight. I still see Terrence Crawford coming out victorious because I think he's got more facets to his game. Go on, Mike. You're going to say something.
I was just going to say, what did you think about the kind of breakdown in relationship with him and Eddie Hearn? And because of him not using Eddie, do you think it looks like he's kind of using it as a cash out, so you can kind of get a bigger piece of the pot?
No, because I think he generally believes that he can win the fight. But also where he thinks that he can win the fight, I think he's also thinking like, I've got to do things for Kell Brook now. I'm at the tail end of my career. His dad, Terry, has been getting a lot of flack because like, it's like, oh, you guys are only thinking about the money and and everything else. I'm saying you're a prize fighter. What else are you going to think about?
Right.
You're a prize fighter. Prize meaning what? The prize is the financial rewards, right? Mm-hmm. So,
mandatory.
I'm not knocking Kell Brook for anything. Do what you have to go do. I just think that it's not what you do, but it's how you do it, right? I think maybe you could have done it a little bit better, but he hasn't.
How do you think Kell Brook approaches this fight in terms of trying to attain a victory? What does he need to do, from your opinion, to win?
What does he need to do? Jump on Terrence Crawford. Pay him no respect. Jump on him. And every time that Terrence Crawford makes any move, throw the double jab. And then, especially when Terrence Crawford is moving in as a southpaw, because he fights southpaw and orthodox equally as well. Jump on him. You know what I mean? I'm fighting close. He has got to be on him like he's Vicks Vapor Rub. Be playing on his chest. That's how I see him getting victory. Because any time you try to get into a boxing match, you're going to get beaten. Because I would say that Terrence Crawford has a genius mind.
Mm-hmm. Spencer, what do you think about, we just touched on how we said about Chisora kind of using UFC coaches and a sprinter coach. What do you feel about Kell not using Dominic Ingle?
I said this before, that loyalty is royalty, right? And I think that he should have stayed with Dominic for the simple fact that the relationship that they've built over the years, and Dominic does care for him, right? But you reach certain places as a fighter, you just want to do your own thing, and I think that's where it's come to now. He just wants to do his own thing.
Spencer, you've obviously known Kell probably since he hit the scene. Obviously, he kind of came onto the British scene. I think everyone thought he was going to, set the world alight. Do you think that ever since beating Sean Porter, he didn't really, take on the biggest and the best. Jojo Dan, Frankie Gavin.
But he didn't. He didn't. And also, we have to look at it. Who's going to go down in history as a better welterweight, Sean Porter or Kell Brook?
Sean Porter.
Okay, all right. So here is, and I thought he was very, very fortunate to get that win over Sean Porter.
Right.
I'm keeping it 100. I thought he was very, very fortunate to get that win, but he did get the win, and I don't think he capitalized on getting that win. I think there were decent fights out for the mere fact that the Amir Khan fight eluded both men. Upsetting to me. But, it is what it is.
Do you think that in terms of for Crawford's side, do you think that his position, do you think he's in a tough spot, like between a rock and a hard place, because he's expected to win from a lot of fans and pundits because of how they view Kell Brook? So if he even shows any signs of struggle, his criticism is obviously going to be even stronger. Do you think he's in a tough spot like that regardless?
No, I don't think he is. I just think he's got to deal with the job in hand, right? And this is a very, very good measuring stick because I think Kell Brook's has made the weight. He's going to be good. He's got a new nutritionist in. He looks in fantastic shape. And we're going to have to, I don't think it's really going to affect Terence Crawford in what way, because there's a lot of guys who actually think that Terence Crawford is going to lose this fight. In America, there's a lot of guys who think these chocolate brownies are going to get the better of him. So we shall see.
Spencer, what do you think about Crawford in terms of legacy? That famous phrase that tends to get used recently, he's on the wrong side of the street with him being with Top Rank and pretty much the rest of the welterweight division all being over the street at PBC.
You know what? It is hard because he's a very, very good talent. I remember Dave Coolwell, and mind you, Dave Coolwell's seen Canelo fight, right? When Canelo, Ryan Rogues boxed for the world title against Canelo. And Dave Coolwell trained him. And you could see, I said, Dave, he was the best fighter that you've physically seen. And he said, Terence Crawford. I said, bro, but you worked when Ryan Rogues fought Canelo. He said, listen, Terence Crawford is the best fighter that I've ever witnessed seeing live. So you got to realize that because he does things so good, maybe we take it for granted. Or because he's not running out and knocking out guys in 30 seconds and think, oh my word. But the guy is very good. And he's got a very, very good boxing brain. Very good boxing brain. So, yeah, I think he is kind of on the wrong side. It would help if he was with PBC, but you can only fight what's in front of you, and you just got to keep on doing what you're doing. But yeah, I think Terence Crawford is absolutely fantastic.
So obviously, you're known as a boxing historian. When you go and look at a list of the greatest of all time, what exactly is it that you look at in terms of like resume? Is it what they did in the sport?
You know what? It changes because we talk about greatness. It's just like if you go on BoxRec right now, right, which is a nice thing for me. If you go on BoxRec right now, you put in pound for pound number one fight of all time. Who do you think it is?
Floyd Mayweather.
Who do you think it is?
That's what I thought I was going to say too, is Mayweather. Yeah.
Right, you got it here in front of you?
Yeah, I'll put it up now.
Go right now.
They do like their ratings are based on algorithm, right? So it's all like a point system for computer, right?
Yeah. But go check who they say is the best fighter of all time.
Is that Charles?
Okay.
Wow.
Right? And Ezra Charles was badass. Even though I think Ezra Charles lost 25 fights, but that's his tail end of his career. Ezra Charles was even a heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was part of the murderer's road that got lucky and got a break when he moved up to heavyweight. But he wasn't a heavyweight. He started off as a middleweight. Right. His best wins, or his best recorded wins, were the wins over guys like Archie Moore, guys like Charlie Burley. Fought Charlie Burley. I think they fought 3 times in total, but they fought twice in the space of a month.
Wow.
Crazy, right? I think that was like 1943. 1941 or 1943. But like, so sometimes we can romanticize about the past because, like, being a historian, this is the thing about it. But people, I get this, you're not an historian. You must Google things. No, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm actually a cheat because I'm actually autistic. So I not suffer. I have autism, but so I remember things quite. You show me something once, I'm gonna get it, especially like something that I love emphatically. So when I look on like how do I rate I like to see the wins that you've come up against, who you fought, and at what time did you fight them? Right?
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna say Ali's one of the greatest of all time. Is he the greatest of all time? No, not necessarily, but he's one of the greatest of all time because he fought top contenders when he was going to fight as underdog. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
So, right. So there's a difference. It's like there's a difference in like the Ali of February 64 when he beat Sonny Liston. Big difference. He was a massive underdog. Massive underdog was it October 74 when he beat George Foreman. Because people are still now trying to figure out how the hell did you beat George Foreman? Right? So for that, then I've got to give you more ratings than anything. Because you gave your life for this sport. But I'm not going to take away nothing from Floyd Mayweather saying that he's not great. But I think that there's certain men that would have beaten Floyd Mayweather on their day. But for longevity, then you got to give Floyd Mayweather all the credit in the world because he managed to long this out longer than anybody else. Anybody else in their history. I was just like, when Floyd Mayweather boasts about, well, I've beaten more world champions than anyone. You've got to remember, like, when they're pitting other great men or other great names, there were only 8 weights at the time. And 1 world title. And then from like the split came with this 1968 with the WBC and WBA. Then you had 2 titles. So you've had like 2 times to 4 times the opportunity to do the things that you've done. And not only that, not even 4 times, but you have to times that as well because now we've got 17 weight divisions, and you started off as a super featherweight, and you managed to go up from a super featherweight. You've gone up 5 weights. Bit more difficult for someone who's a heavyweight to go where you're gonna go. Bit more difficult for someone who's a light heavyweight. Where you're going up. So don't get me twisted. So when I look on like the greatness, I like to see the historical impact of what you did at the time when you was fighting. And did you stop the world? You got to turn around and say, yeah, Floyd Mayweather did stop the world with the Manny Pacquiao fight. He stopped the world, right? But the performance within the Manny Pacquiao fight didn't stop the world. What would you say Floyd Mayweather's greatest performances? To me, Floyd Mayweather's greatest performance where I thought, wow, this guy could be an all-time great, was when he totally annihilated Gatti. That there, I was like, what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think I'm watching something special here.
Right.
But the consistency of special performances by Floyd, for me being a purist, he's done some genius things because he just made it look effortless. But, you know, you got to think, when Roy Jones was at his peak, Floyd was around. Did we compare Roy Jones to Floyd? No disrespect to Floyd. Floyd wasn't even in the argument then. So, yeah. So I like to see, like, on what fighters, like one of my greatest fighters who I just up to this day I love is Gene Tunney. I love Gene Tunney. I actually love Gene Tunney. I walk around my house right now, but you have to go. You know, like in my corridor, I have a big picture of Gene Tunney, black and white. I just love Gene Tunney because he's a thinking man's fighter. I love Gene Tunney. I love Willie Pep. I think Willie Pep was a genius fighter. And there's other guys that don't really get spoken about, like Ricardo Lopez, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
And is an all-time great. And should be on everybody's top 10, but unfortunately he's at the lower weight divisions and people don't really have that interest in the lower weight divisions. So when I look at who you fought, when you fought them as well, you know what I mean? And also the historical impact that you had at the time. So yeah, that's how I go when I'm judging great guys.
In terms of Crawford, Spencer, just because he's on a lot of people's pound for pounds, and then there's also the argument that like, well, he hasn't really fought the names, but he's obviously you can see he's talented. A lot of people base it on the
fought the names. The man was an undisputed 140 pounder, right? Undisputed, all 4 belts.
Right.
Right. So you can't say he ain't fought the names.
Well, I'm talking about like now that he's at 147, is a lot of people give him flack for. I don't think anybody should argue.
That's more. He's not like he's not keen and willing to fight these guys. He's keen and willing to fight Errol Spence. He's keen and willing to fight any of the guys who have titles, Manny Pacquiao, all the guys who are there. He's keen to fight those guys. Mm-hmm. Period. We can't blame him for that. It's not his fault.
Do you think just because of the political nature between these promoters and television broadcasters that Top Rank should just send Crawford over to Showtime or Fox because he's that good, and then just have him face one of their world champions in Spence or something, and then bring the belts back to like a Top Rank in ESPN?
You know that's not going to happen.
Well, of course, realistically, probably not.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Just like Donald Trump's not going to leave the White House. You do that. You're out in America right now. You know that, right? Donald Trump is going to is going to evoke squatters' rights, and they're going to turn off the electricity inside the White House and the hot water. There'll be no hot water now. He's going to have candles around there, but he ain't leaving that place. They're going to have to bring the National Guards in for him. I guarantee it. And on top of that, his wife's going to leave him. Watch.
If that happens, we're gonna get you back on to get your reaction.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna happen. I've got no doubt in my head.
But I mean, like in terms of Crawford, just realistically, we can tell that Heyman and these PBC guys are obviously boxing him out, and it doesn't seem like they're gonna let him in. Like I'm just in terms of reality, like how does Crawford penetrate that wall?
How does he penetrate that wall? Sit down and talk with Al Heyman. Do his best to try and sit down. Bob, you see, sometimes Bob Arum ain't helped himself. Bob Arum kind of shot himself in the foot because Bob Arum will publicly slag off Al Heyman. Mm-hmm. And we've never heard Al Heyman say anything about Bob Arum. So, and even listen, promoters are promoters, so they're that way inclined. You know what I'm trying to say to you? But you ain't heard Al Heyman say anything about Bob, because he said, don't worry, man, I'll just freeze your fighter out. Now, I'm saying maybe there's got to be something that's going on. Like, listen, man, you can't get me the fights. Let's try to make something work. And you know what? Quite simple. Hopefully, after Terence Crawford is victorious over Crawford-Brook, he should say, I'm willing to fight these guys. I mean, I saw PBC done some ratings of the best welterweights in the world, and they just decided not to mention Terence Crawford. I thought that was ridiculous. You know what I mean? So I think we should stop playing these games like, oh, the elephant in the room. No, I can't see it until it smashes down the whole place. It's embarrassing.
What's your ultimate prediction for this Saturday between Brook Crawford? How does it play out? Who's the winner?
I've got Terence Crawford about round 9 or 10, stoppage winner. But me saying that now, he most probably could stop Kell-Brook earlier than that. But that's how I see it.
Do you think that, because obviously Kell's eye sockets have, on both sides, from Spence and Triple G, have had his issues in the past. Do you think that comes into play?
I don't think it's that, because I think Kell-Brook also knows that it's his last hurrah. And I think he's going to go out there and bring something. But I just think Terence Crawford is just too good, but it doesn't mean that I don't want Kell-Brook to win. I actually want him to win. I've known him for years, know his family, but I just see Terence Crawford just being too good.
Right.
Do you think win, lose?
Especially at this time of his career.
Do you think win, lose or draw, that's it for Kel?
Nah, I don't. If they, you know what I mean, maybe if he loses, maybe Amir Khan will fight him.
So you still think the Khan fight will happen before they both hang it up?
No, I don't, but I'd like it to.
Right. I think it will happen. I don't know why. I just think they're going to figure out a way, and just because there's a demand there, even though some people are over it. But that's just my 2 cents, obviously. But moving on from the Wembley Arena, this upcoming weekend in London on DAZN, Katie Taylor, 16-0, goes up against Miriam Gutierrez. And this is for the unified WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO lightweight world titles. What do you think about this matchup involving Katie Taylor, Spencer?
Gutierrez is very good.
Mm-hmm.
She's very good. But Katie Taylor is special. Katie Taylor is the one that made me stop being so cynical about female boxing, because I was very cynical about female boxing about 20 years ago. Very, very cynical about it, because we had, like, remember we had the Martin girl in America, the coal miner's daughter,
Christine.
and that was it. Remember that?
Right.
She was bad. She was badass, right? But then we never had no one else. And even when she lost to Layla Ali, we knew that was some big weight difference as well. So, but we ain't seen. Riker was very good as well, man. I don't know what happened to her. She was bad, right? But then we didn't see anything else. We didn't see like the consistency. But now we're seeing good, consistent fighters, and consistent fighters in female boxing, where now it's not just female boxing, just boxing, because the skills demonstrated by these females. I mean, Natasha Jonas the other day, her and Harper, that was wicked. So there's been fights that I'm saying, boy, this is really good. I don't care that it's two females and they got vests on. I care about skill, and the skill that is being possessed and how they dominate their skill on somebody else and how they inflict their skill on somebody else. So, but yeah, I've got Katie Taylor winning. I've got her winning on points, but I think it's going to be a close one because she had a close fight last time out. So I think that this will be a close points win for her, and she'll become undisputed unified champion.
Spencer, do you think they need to move to 3-minute rounds so we get some more stoppages? So
100%. They should be 3-minute rounds now anyway. You know what I mean? I think it's ridiculous that they're giving them 2-minute rounds, because most of the females, they could pee 2 minutes like it's nothing. So I think they should be doing 3-minute rounds.
I was saying to Danny last week, I thought that Savannah Marshall may be that missing link between taking it to the next level, because she seems to have a little bit more pop, and I think some of the male fans and maybe even female fans will get a little bit more involved.
Savannah Marshall is the real deal, bruv. Seriously, just chopping hard punches, just demoralizing punch. She's the real deal. You know what I mean? Because that Rankin girl, I've been in the gym with her a couple of times. Rankin's no mug. She can fight. You know what I mean? Nobody's done that to Rankin. Not even Clarissa Shields, who's ranked as the best pound-for-pound female fighter in the world. So you have to take that in consideration. Say, well, what am I watching there? You know what I mean? Savannah Marshall is serious. She's real.
Who do you think out of the stable of these world championship female fighters we have right now, if there's anybody that can be like a crossover star and really generate some attention, some like a Ronda Rousey or something like a UFC, who could it be in your opinion?
You know what? I think it could be Clarissa Shields. I think it could be her. But more than anything, and I know Clarissa really well, so I'm not upsetting her, but I think it actually could be Savannah Marshall, for the simple fact that she got more pop than most females. You know what I mean? And because she got more pop, like, we as human beings, we like violence. But more than anything, we like orchestrated, structured violence, whereas we think the violence, but we're going to be safe. Hence why we like to watch car crash TV. So I think the way that Savannah Marshall fights, I was very impressed with her. Very, very. She's trained by Peter Fury, right? I was very, very impressed. That's how she lines them up, how she drops in her power shots. You know what I mean? How she shuffles her feet full. She don't rush. But yeah, I think she's gonna be the one that opens up all doors for female fighters.
She just needs
she's taking people out. Yeah, she's taking people out.
She just needs to sign for MTK Global.
She actually is with MTK Global. So yeah. But on the rules, that's not the reason why I'm bigging her up. I think she's a very good fighter, man.
Right. Kind of going back to the whole 2-3 minute rounds thing. The criticism or why it hasn't happened. WBC has used medical evidence of what they say, that physicians, doctors have opinionated or have studied it, and they say it's not a good idea to do it to 3-minute rounds. I mean, what do you say to that standpoint from like the WBC and the medical information?
They must know more than me, but I'm saying I wouldn't mind seeing 3-minute rounds of fighting. So we'll see more stoppages.
Right.
Do it in UFC.
Exactly.
And they do it in Nevada. Every now and again in Nevada, you see the female fight, Tanisha Estrada against Marlon Esparza. That was 3-minute rounds.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're using elbows, knees, you know what I mean, legs, everything. So, I think it should be 3-minute rounds for female boxing.
Also on this card, like you mentioned Terry Harper, who also has a bout on this card, goes up against Katrina. Is that how you say it, Mike? Sanders. This is for the WBC and IBO super featherweight world titles. What do you think about this matchup involving Harper, Spencer?
Well, I thought Harper lost the last fight.
Mm-hmm.
But Harper's a good fighter, man. So, I mean, I don't know much about her other opponent, so I couldn't really speak on it. I don't know it. But I think Harper's very good.
Right. What do you think, Mike?
So because I don't know her opponent, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and say, oh, yeah. Like, I don't know her opponent, but I know Harper. I've watched Harper. Harper can rumble, man. She can fight. So depending on that Jonas fight, if it didn't take a lot out of her, then I see her coming out victorious.
No, I agree. It's another one that just, unfortunately, neither Terry Harper or Sanders, have much pop. So it's another one I think will go to the cards, and, Harper will probably get some home cooking and seem to win. But that Sanders seems to come to fight. She's a Spanish-Norwegian fighter, and she was the mandatory challenger for this title. So should be a good fight. I think everyone wants to see the rematch of Terry Harper and Jonas, like Spencer kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
I think
Harper we do want to see that fight.
So.
Also on that card, you got 3 world title fights here. Rachel Ball, 6-1, goes up against Jorgelina. I'm sorry, I know I said that wrong.
Rachel Ball's my girl, man. I love her. She's winning that fight.
What do you think? I know we're not familiar with her opponent, but what do you think about Rachel Ball in this upcoming performance? What does she need to do?
Rachel Ball is a very good fighter. She got very good balance, very good timing. What was her last fight? Her last fight, it's really weird because she came on our show as well. So I've really got a soft spot for her. I rate her as a fighter. And I can see her coming out victorious because she got bounce in her step and she throws a lot of punches. So, yeah, I think she's going to come out victorious.
Mike, what do you think?
I'm the same as Spencer. I really like her because she came in as the underdog. She came in as the live meat for Shannon Courtney. And obviously she survived.
You know what? And there's no disrespect to Shannon Courtney. But Shannon Courtney's been kind of built like as this glamour girl kind of thing, Mm-hmm. And fair play to Shannon Courtney as well because she got floored. I think it was like a kind of check left hook she got caught with and she went down. But she got up straight away. Shannon Courtney can fight, man. But she was built as a glamour girl. And if you look at Rachel Ball, she ain't had no favors done to her. None at all. So when I start seeing people who haven't had no favors done to her and their favors start going their way, I can only be happy for them because I know like she's worked bloody hard to get to where she's got to. So now she's in the position to fight for a world title. She's very, very thankful to Matchroom for bringing her through Sky TV. Now I'm saying like, cool, now you got to go and do the business. Do I believe that she's going to go do the business? Just by, like, we interviewed her a few weeks ago. And just by listening to her, she's serious, man. She's under no illusions. She knows, like, right, things are, like, she's just grateful to be there, right? So, but it doesn't stop her work ethic. She got very good work ethic, so I can see her coming out victorious.
It's a good fight. They brought the girl's the IBF 115-pound title holder, so she's brought her up from a weight. And then it looks like, obviously, Matchroom are trying to position, Rachel Ball against Shannon Courtney for the future WBA bantamweight title, because like Spencer said, she's kind of like the Matchroom golden girl, being Shannon Courtney at the minute, so trying to build up that rematch.
Yeah, they are trying to build that rematch, but like I said, if the fight was longer, was it Shannon Courtney's fight was a 6-rounder? Hopefully that will happen. I hope that Rachel, regardless of what happens after this fight, but I just hope that she just becomes a world champ because I know how much it would mean to her to become a world champ. So yeah, I'm behind Rachel no matter what.
Definitely another busy weekend of fights this upcoming weekend. And Spencer, we've had you on for quite
You're damn right. I'm going to go to my bed now, bro.
I keep
running in the morning.
I keep have to remind myself that you're in the UK and then we're over here in the States. So I always tell Mike, I was like, hey, if we're going over some time, you gotta jump in there. But before we let you go, Spencer, go ahead and plug, obviously your work at the MTK Global Foundation, your social media, anything you got upcoming. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
I don't need to plug anything. We got some good fights on ESPN Plus, and on IFL for YouTube this Wednesday, the Wakefield show. We've had a couple pullouts because Lee McGregor was meant to fight for the European title, but he had to pull out with COVID. But there are some good fights on this, some really good prospects making their pro debuts. So it's a kind of like, I don't know, York Hall meets the Blue Horizon kind of thing going on right there. But there's some good fights. So tune into that. There's a kid from Kazakhstan, a super welterweight. I'm not correct on his pronunciation, but I'm calling the fights of his surname. But the kid, Chunshin, he can fight, bro. Trust me. Only his second pro fight, but he's fighting somebody 14-0 on one draw.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Right, exactly. Look out for this kid. They're throwing him in. The nice thing about this COVID, which COVID in itself is terrible, but the nice thing about COVID within our sport, that there ain't no easy runs again.
Right.
We ain't gonna get someone in from Lithuania to fight a boy who's 12-0, and this guy's 56 with 50 knockouts, 50 losses. Sorry, you ain't gonna get that. You're gonna have to fight to earn your keep. So this is a time where if you want to fight, it's a put up or shut up. So and that's the great thing. What I'm seeing with MTK Global, I'm doing loads for the foundation right now because London, the UK is under lockdown right now. So I'm still doing a lot of these home care visits to the elderly, where we get loads and loads of food that we go out and we give them their dinners and stuff like that. So I've been running that since lockdown started last week. That's cool. Hopefully I'm meant to be going back out to Bali to give out a couple more motivational talks and help out the impoverished over there. Like I did last year, I did Pakistan, I did Bosnia and Herzegovina. They were eye-opening things for me to go out there to help people. We give them boxing equipment as well. The sport is just it's multi-global, and it draws people to it. I can't explain it. I can't seriously. From me retiring from boxing, then becoming a manager, trainer, promoter, and everything else, but just doing the things that I'm doing to know, I'll be in a position to be able to bless other people. The blessing that I've got is the best thing in the world, and even more of a blessing to be up on you guys' podcast. Hopefully you start retweeting The Fight Is Right as well. But I'll be very, very grateful for that. But thanks for having me on your show, bro.
We appreciate it, and I'll definitely make sure Mike definitely shares your stuff. Because I didn't know he wasn't sharing, so I'll definitely make sure he does. If he doesn't,
yeah, Mike's got to understand. Sharing is caring. He pesters me every week. And it's like I get inbox from him. Oh yeah, please, if you could share the stuff. And sometimes I'll just blank him deliberately, and he'll come back. No, please, you ain't shared it. He's on me. I'll say, right, I'll share the stuff. And I've got a wicked podcast right now. The numbers don't lie on YouTube. We're getting really, really good numbers, right? And not once has this little bitch shared my stuff. I might have to fly out to America and kick you in your mouth, my friend. But nah, seriously, it's been a pleasing pleasure being on your show. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I've enjoyed this. I'd like to come back again, man. Thank you for the talk.
Well, we appreciate it. Mike, before we sign off here, go ahead and let our listeners know where they can find us on the socials and everything.
We're at The Last Round 12 on Twitter and Instagram. Obviously, be sure to join us next week where we'll be talking about all those big women's fights and, previewing the Conor Benn against Formella card now that the Dylan White's fallen through. Right.
So for our special guest of the week, Spencer Fearon of the MTK Global Foundation, for my co-host Michael Shepard, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.